Well, here we are at MindBody Bold, and we're very excited to have Amanda Carlson Phillips, who's the Senior Vice President and Head of Performance Innovation at Exos. Welcome. It's wonderful to have you with us.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here. Thanks for having me.
And 2003, you've been with the brand. Tell us what you do.
Oh my gosh, yes, I've been with Exos since 2003, and I've always been passionate about the human performance space. So I did my graduate work in sports nutrition, which was super novel at the time, and exercise physiology, and I found my way out to the desert to athletes' performance, is what it was called at the time. But Mark Verstegen, the founder, had this vision of integrating mindset, nutrition, movement recovery, methodology, facilities, seamlessly integrated all to enhance the performance of the athlete. So I found my home, and I've been there ever since. And so now, almost 20 years later, which is scary to say out loud, leading up innovation for our company.
That's wonderful. And then just congratulations on a couple of things. Back in 2018, the brand actually won the Visionary Award here, and just yesterday you took out the Icon Award as just a wonderful strategic partner with MindBody. So congratulations to the brand. They don't give that away lightly.
Yeah, it was, it's a really special award, and just to be side by side with MindBody really for a long time, trying to make it easier for consumers and individuals to engage with different types of performance or fitness. It's an honor to be with MindBody side by side.
Yeah, that's great. And one more shout out before we get to perhaps the big contribution you're making, I guess, to the community at large at the moment is the NFL draft. You performed very well this year in terms of, creating a space for athletes to get ready for that. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, athletes, they are our heritage, and they're also our tip of the spear. So that's why Exos got started, because we wanted to efficiently and ethically enhance the performance of the athlete. And so this year was our biggest NFL Combine year ever. So we take these guys, they are preparing for their biggest interview of their life to go into the NFL. Hopefully, we had 130 guys that actually went into the combine and were able to show up and show off. And we had an incredible draft class, including the #1 draft pick this year. But it's a really special program. All of our athlete programs are awesome, but to see those guys transitioning after a lifelong of work into what is their career is just a really special program.
Great. And then I guess what we're really excited about now is you're taking this huge heritage of really understanding the human body and how to be optimal, and you're taking it to a new space. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? And this isn't a new conversation for you. You're taking it to the workplace, high performance for normal people in work life.
We are, and so we've always looked at our methodological approach as humans are humans, and so when we want to be at our best and we want to be high performing, the human body and the physiology is the center of that. And so whether you're working with the pro athletes or our time in the military, transitioning that into the corporate space really was something natural, and we felt was needed. And so we pivoted around 2009 and started bringing those solutions, the integrated solutions of mindset, nutrition, movement, recovery, and said, how could we change the face of wellness within the corporate space? And so here we are kind of continuing to pound that rock in 2022 and bringing even more novel solutions into the workplace.
Great. So you pretty much took a decade of your know-how, took it to the workplace. We had the pandemic, which I'm sure you did some deep thinking over that time. Where does that place you now? Like, what are you focusing on in the workplace now? We're in hybrid times. We've had people leaving jobs, the quiet quit, all the rest of it. What are you noticing?
There's so much to it. And so prior to the pandemic, we were working with around 120 companies, about 30% of the Fortune 100. But the base of our business was fitness center management. So it's managing fitness center, it's being on site and bringing those integrated solutions to bear. But the pandemic really shifted that. So we had started, we had started thinking about, well, how do you bring those solutions in a digital means? How do you connect digital and physical? So we were thinking about it, we were working on it, but the pandemic really forced our hand. And so when you think about the last 2 years as we've been reflecting around, how can human performance show up in the workplace, and like, what is the role of Exos? And Exos, we're a coaching company, and we want to get people ready for their moments that matter most. And so when we think about everybody in corporate America as a result of the pandemic, it's like, well, we have to get them ready, sometimes in the workplace and sometimes at home. So nonetheless, we've been really thinking about the platforms to deliver the solutions, but also thinking about, what are we solving for now? And so
has that changed? Do you think that's changed? Like, you mentioned like the athletes, and one of the things I'm aware of is that there's definitely a lot more consideration from the athlete side in terms of, you use the word recovery and mental, what is it, mindset and recovery. And I guess if you think about what people have been through now through COVID, the pandemic, it seems though, some people have got the exercise part, but they're almost not even realizing that mindset and recovery is such a critical part of that whole wellness, personal wellness. Have you had to change how you package, communicate, deliver more of a rounded solution than just sort of exercise as a result of some of those changes?
Yeah, I think the interesting part is we've been thinking about the integrated model since the very beginning, but to the point of how do we package it and really get consumers and individuals to connect with it was something we had to really think about. But also they were struggling in a different way. And this didn't happen as a result of the pandemic. The pandemic just made it more challenging. So there was actually a survey in 2019 by stress.com, and it showcased that 83% of individuals in the workplace were so stressed out that they were thinking about quitting their job. And so this was like something that's been festering and underlying for a long time. And so today, here we are, we believe that the mind and body are inextricably linked. And we've always felt that way. So now how do we bring those solutions to bear where it is beyond just movement, how you fuel, how you recover, how you breathe, how you integrate meditation, all of those things play into helping us as humans have more capacity to meet the demands of what life has today. So I think that's what we're really learning as a result of the pandemic is it's not just a siloed solution. It's not just doing the movement. It's not just breathing. It's not just meditating. It's not just, taking your essential fatty acids to optimize your brain function. It's all of those together. And if we can integrate them and put the human at the center, understand their why, understand their limiting factors and what they're after, then we're able to optimize human performance.
Is that, you say that's our belief. Is that a belief, or is a lot of that based on kind of what you guys do from a science and research perspective?
Yeah, it's really based in science, and our whole brand has been based in efficacy and evidence-based, but also pushing the limits and experimenting a bit. So on our methodology leadership team, we have a director of neuroscience, we have positive psychology experts, nutrition experts, movement experts, we have breathing experts, the whole gamut. And I think what the science is showing us now and the imaging and the diagnostics, you can see how the brain changes as a result of these. You can look at different neurochemicals. You can actually measure some of the feelings that we've been having for a long time. But I think that's the important part in the workplace today, just like for professional athletes, is finding the balance between all of those different elements and optimizing performance. And that is the mind and the body together.
One other quick question on that. Yeah. What's your views on this? Like, I'll be a little bit controversial. And I'm not trying to offend. I'm not trying to offend anyone. But so in the UK, they've just appointed a new health minister, and I had this conversation with a few people online. And my view is that if you're in a leadership position, where you're influencing people, you have a lot of people that are looking to you, you're in a position to be making very important decisions that are affecting a lot of people's lives. Based on the research that you've seen, would it make sense that if you have tools that you're using, that the tools that you're using are the best that you can use in order to be able to perform at your best level? So in a human being's perspective, are you compromised in terms of your decision making, your energy that you're able to bring to the role, and your ability to function if you're not optimizing what your genetics are sort of giving you? And we're all different, we're all gifted slightly differently, but if your physical state of health, whether that's nutrition, mindset, recovery, what was the other one you said? Movement. Yeah, if you're compromised on some of those, does that compromise your position as a leader of an organization, as a political party, in terms of influencing people? And should we, as leaders, in whatever we do, really be taking that responsibility quite seriously in terms of, our own, sort of health, wellness, etc.?
I think we should be taking it so seriously. And I think we should take it seriously on an individual level and then also on a leadership and overall infrastructure level. And so if you think about, we're in leadership positions and we might be leading teams or schools of thought. If we are dehydrated, if we haven't, been working on fitness, if we're not strong, if we're undernourished, all those things change the way our brains work. Those can impact executive functioning. They can impact decision making, and they also impact our overall longevity. And so you think about over time, we're getting more life experience, we're getting in more situations as leaders, and to be able to harness all of that for the longest period of time is important. But if we neglect our physicality and we neglect the impact of the decisions that we actually make and the impact that has later on, we miss a lot of that. And so I think today in corporate America, in leadership positions within, you think about just government in general, we have to prioritize it. And there doesn't have to be, we're not having to give something up by taking time to take care of our human system so we can be at our best giving back to the world for the longest period of time. So I know that's a bit long-winded, but I think it's super important. I think we have to think about what are we doing, why are we doing it, and how do we best prioritize and make easy access, really, equality of access to these types of strategies to be, the best humans that we can be to create a better world.
Yeah, that's great. Fritz, in his opening remarks here at the conference, said that, of course, there's going to be a couple of settling years as we pull out of the pandemic. We sort of get through, all the drama that's happening in the world right now. But he did paint a very bright horizon where wellness, we've seen the shift from fitness to wellness, where people are now really embracing, I've really got to look after myself for my whole body and for our future generations as well. Where do you, say in the next 20 years, see the brand going? I guess we saw the plethora of platforms come up during the pandemic. We're seeing sort of a bunch of them go away because it's quite a competitive space. Are you trying to own a whole ecosystem? Like, where do you see Exos going?
Yeah, I think what the pandemic brought us was a number of incredible consumer-friendly applications, siloed solutions. I want to eat better, I can go here. I want to meditate, I can go there. I want to move, I can go to this app over here. I want to make the next big move at work, I can go and do this personal learning and development. What we see it, and really this goes back to our founding and our heritage, is that the integration of those, putting the human at the center, will result in an individual that is achieving what they want to achieve, is being at their best mental and physical self and being able to apply that to their moments that matter. And so for us as a brand, how do we take that methodology? How do we think about our brick and mortar spaces? How do we think about not just the athletes we work with, but all of these corporations to create better environments for their individuals? And how do we think about this next round of leaders, emerging leaders or even more seasoned leaders, really embrace mental health, not as something that is negative or derogatory, but on the flip side. Like, how do we optimize mental health for optimal performance? And we've got some programs like that too. So we're launching the Game Changer program, which is an incredible program, which takes physicality, mental capacity to optimize creativity and grit. But anyways, coming back to it, the human's at the center. We all have a purpose. We understand human physiology, integrate those silos, create an incredible environment. And I think through the workforce, through the things we're doing in the workplace, we can really shift just how we all perform for the future.
How do you think we're doing on that? Like, these things seem very obvious. Yeah. We'll talk about the US. I know there's many other places in the world we can discuss, but let's stay here. But, how do you think we're doing or how do you think the Americans are doing on that journey? And I'm talking about, starting from the top, leadership in the country. We're clearly very unhealthy, and we seem to be getting more unhealthier as we go along. Mental health probably seems to be at the worst it's ever been. Food, people not moving as much. How would you describe that? And as Emma said, is there are we sort of making good inroads into improving that future, or are we sort of not even at the starting line, would you say?
Oh man, it's such a good question and so many layers in that. I think if you think about like what individuals want, I read a recent stat, 89% of people want to prioritize their well-being. Like they're feeling like I'm in pain, I want to do something. Now, we're in this sweet spot. Where do you take that want or that kind of spark of motivation and then get them into the right situation so that they can continue on their journey? And that requires infrastructure. I think there are certain places where the access of great food is better than it ever has been. Like in corporate America, when we first started working, the food offerings were horrendous. And I think you've started to see some good shifts over the last 10 years. Access to movement, access to meditation, access to all of these nodes is there. So I think that's an improvement. How do we bring it together, I think, is the next step we need to take. However, I think there is some inequality of access. And when you're thinking about an entire country, there are certain people that have lots of access and others that still don't have great access. And so if we're talking about an entire population, we have to think about both sides of that. So we can continue to push forward and have great tools and have great infrastructure. Corporations are the new countries. Like, how do you optimize environments people are in all the time? How do you ensure they've got access to things at home? But there's a whole group of the population that we can't ignore.
Then you've got access, and then you've got the motivation to access, right?
Absolutely.
And if we're dumbed down and we've been eating the wrong things, and it's not really something that we get up in the morning and love, you've kind of got those barriers as well, right, to make it more enticing.
There's so many layers to it, and there are a lot of barriers. And when you think about well-being and health and fitness and meditation and really taking care of our physical and mental body, there is a discrepancy, across socioeconomic levels, across geographical levels. But I think humans are humans, and we're prioritizing more than we ever have. We're aware of it more. We're talking about it more. And so I think, our hope and what's fueling us as we think about this concept of hybrid forever is that we can build great solutions to match that motivation, and hopefully that'll carry us some way further and not backwards.
Great. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. It sounds very interesting.
Yeah, thank you.